What if? Hey, you guys! It's Watch It Ralph, and this is What If Deadpool 2's post-credit scenes affect the next Deadpool movie in this way. Spoiler warning for Deadpool 1 and 2. Okay, so since I expect anyone that's still watching to have seen those movies, expect this video to be a little crazier, a little raunchier, and a lot more explicit than most of my videos.
This shit's gonna have nuts in it.
Not literally. And before I start, I'd like to suggest one thing. Watch this video in its entirety, all the way till the end, because there will be some interesting, unexpected twists and turns. And well, the reason why I chose this topic in particular is because recently there was an interview with the writers of Deadpool 1 and 2, Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, and they admitted that the post-credit scenes in Deadpool 2 are canon, which means it affects everything in the DPCU, the the Deadpool Cinematic Universe. Makes you wonder what the CU stood for. So, we'll do a deep dive, so to speak, to break down every element that happens in the post-credit scenes. Now, whether the next Deadpool movie is Deadpool 3 or X-Force remains to be seen, but it's important to note that these ideas are most effective if they're used next time we see Deadpool in a movie. So let's get started.
Maximum effort.
Deadpool 2's post-credit scenes begin with Negasonic Teenage Warhead and Yukio, hello, fixing the time machine wristband, giving it to Deadpool, and then Yukio saying,
"That was probably a bad idea."
And,
"What have we done?"
You think? But for now, let's just leave that in the steaming pile of foreshadowing. And let's just focus on the 4 separate events that Deadpool goes to. 5, if you include the supercut, where he tries to answer the age-old question of,
Hey, if you had a time machine, would you go back and kill baby Hitler?
and the answer is no, because he's still a baby. What you do is you go back to when Hitler was in his mid-20s. Then you kill him, guilt-free. Yeah, but either way, that didn't affect the universe. So instead, let's focus on the 4 changes that Deadpool actually made. Of course, we'll start with the most important and the one that's most relevant to Deadpool's life, which was saving Vanessa. I'm happy for them. I mean, I love that relationship. So I'm glad to see that she's back. Other than the fact that it negates Deadpool 2 entirely and creates a time paradox with alternate universes, I mean, other than that, I'm happy for them. So, rather than focusing on that, what I'll touch upon is the moment Deadpool turns to Vanessa and says,
We're definitely naming our kid Cher!
Knowing how Rhett Reese, how Paul Wernick, and how Ryan Reynolds like to always bring things back, there's no doubt in my mind that there's going to be a callback to that. But a kid? I don't know if the writers are going to want him to pull the trigger on that. Probably because he's shooting blanks.
Ugh.
Or even just the thought of Deadpool and parental guidance.
Yeah, I just found out I had a child.
Attack this, little one! Attack this!
Yeah, I don't think so. So, what if, instead, we see in the next movie, Vanessa and Wade have adopted a dog? And named their Cher. Callback. And it works out perfectly because then you get to have little bonding moments like Wade telling Cher if anyone came and ever hurt her, he would hunt them down and kill all of them like Keanu Reeves did in that movie, The Matrix. Of course, I'm talking about John Wick, but this dialogue conveys the same raw emotion and sentiment without having to actually kill the dog. So I think it works out for everyone. While at the same time making a shout out to the director of Deadpool 2, David Lynch because he co-directed John Wick. What a small world. And it's about to get smaller. And then, imagine in the third act when Deadpool is doing his inevitable motivational speech in the apartment. All of a sudden, Cher walks out dressed like Deadpool. And then, hold on. So that means Cher is Dogpool. And Dogpool is Cher. Cher is Dogpool. And Dogpool is Cher? Cher is Dogpool? And Dogpool is Cher. Okay, I like where the joke comes from, but I don't like to think what it's implying.
Easy.
No. Women's International Independence Day, right? No. Either way, Deadpool will be happy to have Cher and to have Vanessa back in his life. But if going back in time and saving Vanessa is canon, that means that anyone that Deadpool went back and killed is canon as well. So keeping that in mind, what if in the next movie we see Deadpool run into a hallway filled with private security, blocking his path to the door at the very end? When they approach Deadpool, they look gigantic in comparison to him. And once this door is established, of course, a fight breaks out. But what if, from this point on, the fight sequence is done in a one-shot, reminiscent of Oldboy's famous hallway fight sequence, which is supposed to be paying homage to side-scrolling video games. Pop culture. Makes sense, right? Even Daredevil, the series on Netflix, tried to pay homage to the same scene. But let's keep it more in the vein of the original. But just imagine Deadpool with his katanas instead of the hammer. So of course that means he's whooping more ass than the character in Oldboy. But not whooping as much ass as Josh Brolin in the American adaptation of the same movie. I mean, that was over the top. And that's in terms of Deadpool standards. It's like Josh Brolin was auditioning for Cable, or he was letting out his frustrations for Jonah Hex. No, not that much. Just think of it like the Goldilocks of bloodshed. Not too much, not too little, just right. And while all of this violence is going on, of course we hear Ryan Reynolds' voiceover narration.
Oh, hello.
And he's giddy like a schoolgirl because he has Vanessa and Cher in his life.
Woo! Yes! I feel just like a little girl.
Vanessa?
Happy day.
Okay, how does it feel? Imagine, if you will, for a moment, a bald eagle. And a bald eagle is spreading his majestic wings over a warm Hawaiian breeze.
Like Hello Kitty took a shit on your shoulders.
Oh, it tastes like a sunrise had sex with a feather duster.
Deadpool is massacring them one by one, and then he kills the last one with the katana in a superhero's pose, just as Ryan Reynolds is finishing up his monologue with his version of the Tony Stark. Then Deadpool turns to the camera and unmasks to reveal.
Tom Cruise.
Wait. Hold the door. Hit the brakes. Cut.
What? In the actual ass?
So yeah, the voice of Ryan as Deadpool is shocked. And maybe all of you are too. But remember what I said before. If saving Vanessa is canon, that means Deadpool going back and killing Ryan Reynolds before he did Green Lantern is canon as well. Which means he didn't do Green Lantern, but that also means he didn't do R.I.P.D. Selfless, and oh yeah, Deadpool 1 and 2. So what if Tom Cruise took on the role afterwards? And if you paid attention to Deadpool 1 and 2, Deadpool made it pretty obvious that he's not a fan of the actor Ryan Reynolds. I mean, if shooting him in the head wasn't enough of a hint, he also took a few verbal jabs at him throughout the movies. So I could imagine this Deadpool, in his defensiveness, initially blaming the actor by saying things like,
I'm gonna remake all of Ryan Reynolds' movies, but with only one slight adjustment, making them good.
but this could be the moment that this incarnation of Deadpool acknowledges how vital Ryan Reynolds, the actor, is to his existence, and shifts the focus of the blame to Fox and Disney, or whatever they're called after the merger. Let's call them Mickey Fox. So he tells Mickey Fox how much money they've made for them, and begins to express how important they are to the company by getting on a loudspeaker to toot his own horn.
20th Century Fox.
Guys were dicks before.
Also Disney.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
But while this is going on, he unfreezes. Tom Cruise's Deadpool begins to move again, opens the door, and walks through the doorway. Then the movie cuts to outside, focusing on the doorway, as we see Ryan Reynolds walking out of it. Sexy motherfucker. Deadpool. Sexy motherfucker. And as Philip DeFranco would say, welcome back, you beautiful bastard. So of course, he takes this moment to gloat and focuses on how much of a height difference him and Tom Cruise have. Saying the difference between them is night and day. Oh, so that means the private security seemed really tall because Tom Cruise is so short. And even the love for Ryan Reynolds is short-lived because Deadpool goes right back to mocking the actor.
Ryan Reynolds, huge asshole. He's like the poor man's version of Ryan Reynolds. And like the rich man's version of my most recent turd.
So the movie goes on, and it all just comes off as a huge homage to Austin Powers' Goldmember. But if you're wondering why Tom Cruise, out of all people, you may have noticed an image not too long ago, which is straight from a comic book, in which Loki curses Deadpool into looking like Tom Cruise. And this tortures and torments Deadpool to no end. He basically goes insane. So, imagine an Easter egg where Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool goes almost just as insane because he sees Tom Cruise replace him. And yes, I know Cruise is spelled differently in the comic book, but that actually adds to the humor. Plus, we all know that they did that for legal purposes. But I don't believe we have to worry because there have been clear indications that Tom Cruise would be willing to do something like this. Just think of the aforementioned Night and Day, which was clearly an attempt to take the persona that he had at the time, which was us seeing him jump on Oprah's couch and all the unique moments that were going on at that time, to take that conversation and flip it on its head. Unfortunately, it wasn't a successful movie, but I like the effort. And more importantly, the bigger example is his transformation as the character Len Grossman. I mean, what he did even in the MTV Movie Awards was incredible. He took what everybody assumes of Tom Cruise and literally did the opposite. So I believe he'd be willing to embrace this humor. Plus, I believe that even though it's not really his extreme type of stunt work, I would think he would enjoy taking on a one-shot action sequence. And I didn't want to give it away before, but the sequence is meant to be reminiscent of The Last Samurai. Even the last kill in the hero's pose. If I would have said that, it would have given away the reveal. And realized that the whole purpose of the one-shot was meant to make the reveal more impactful, because everyone assumes that they're seeing someone in the suit, and then they're shocked to realize the truth. And then more importantly, focusing on the DPCU that has been created. the writers themselves have been setting up this foundation without even realizing it. Because if you go back to Deadpool 2, Deadpool calls Dopinder Goose, which is clearly a reference to Top Gun. And then later on in the movie, Dopinder literally tells Deadpool,
You're my Tom Cruise.
as Deadpool responds,
You're my Kristen Dunst.
Kirsten?
And lastly, there's a rumor going around that Tom Cruise may be taking on the role of Hal Jordan in the next Green Lantern movie. So I mean, this stuff practically writes itself. But I wrote it.